Why it sucks to be born as a mayfly. You live for just one day. Imagine being born only to die a few hours later. No time to eat, no time to rest, just mate, lay eggs, and die. Welcome to the tragic, hectic, and short-lived existence of the mayfly. 1. Meet the mayfly. They flutter softly over rivers and lakes, their wings almost invisible in the evening light. Most people hardly notice them, mistaking them for gnats or ignoring them entirely. But what you're seeing is one of the most ancient stories still unfolding on our planet. Mayflies. These delicate ephemeral creatures are not newcomers to the natural world. They are survivors from a distant era, an era when amphibians were just beginning to walk the earth, and forests were dominated by towering ferns instead of flowering plants. Their history stretches back over 300 million years, long before dinosaurs, birds, or mammals. In fact, fossil records place mayflies as one of the first winged insects ever to appear on Earth. That makes them older than dragonflies, older than butterflies, and older than almost everything with legs that flies today. Just let that sink in for a second. When mayflies first evolved wings, the continents were still smashed together in a supercontinent called Pangaea, and giant millipedes the size of alligators crawled through the leaf litter. Their ancestors flew through prehistoric swamps, dodging predators like giant amphibians and early reptiles. And incredibly, these insects have changed very little in that time. That kind of evolutionary stability is almost unheard of. Scientists call them living fossils for a reason. They're a window into a lost world. Scientific deep dive: what makes a mayfly? But what exactly makes a mayfly? A mayfly. Biologists classify them in the order Ephemeroptera, a name derived from Greek, ephemera, meaning short-lived, and ptera, meaning wings. Literally, ephemeral wings. It's a name that's as poetic as it is cruelly accurate. There are more than 3,000 known species of mayfly distributed across every continent except Antarctica. They are especially common in clean, unpolluted, freshwater habitats, rivers, streams, lakes, and ponds, where their larvae, or nymphs, spend most of their lives underwater. And while the adult mayfly is the one we notice, the one flying and swarming and dying, the real life of a mayfly happens far from view, beneath the surface of the water. But before we talk about that hidden phase of their existence, let's focus on the part that gets the most tragic attention: the adult. Because when mayflies finally emerge from the water, stretch their wings, and take their first flight into the open air, their time is already running out. How short is short? In human terms, short-lived might mean a few years or a few weeks. But in the world of mayflies, adulthood lasts just hours. In extreme cases, just minutes. Some species, like Dillania americana, live for as little as 5 minutes after becoming fully winged adults. That's shorter than a coffee break, shorter than most people's lunch. It's barely enough time to orient yourself, let alone live a meaningful life. Other species might survive 24 to 48 hours if they're lucky. A handful of the hardier ones can stretch that into 3 days. But those are rare exceptions. The vast majority of mayflies don't even survive a full sunrise to sunset cycle. And here's the cruel twist. During that brief adult life, they don't eat. They can't. Most species of mayfly don't even have functioning mouths. Their digestive tracts are vestigial, sealed off like a dead-end hallway. The moment they sprout wings, their digestive system shuts down for good. So what is the point of all this evolution? Millions of years of refinement, adaptation, and survival, just to live a day and die? The answer is reproduction. It's the only purpose adult mayflies serve. Mayfly anatomy, designed for brevity. Adult mayflies have slender bodies, large compound eyes, and 2 or 3 long, thread-like tails called cerci. Their front wings are large and triangular, while their hind wings are small or even absent. Their legs are long and spindly, not made for walking so much as grasping, usually during mating or while clinging to surfaces. Everything about them is optimized for a single goal: get airborne, find a mate, reproduce. That's it. No time for error, no time to waste. Their massive eyes give them the visual acuity they need to find other mayflies in the chaotic clouds of mating swarms. Their tails may serve to help with flight stability, though some researchers believe they may also play a role in mating displays. Even their body chemistry is tailored to burn through energy quickly and efficiently, like living candles that burn bright and fast. Where do mayflies live? You'll find mayflies almost everywhere there's clean water. They thrive in freshwater streams, rivers, and lakes with low pollution levels and lots of oxygen. Because their larvae are sensitive to toxins, mayflies are considered bioindicators, species that tell scientists how healthy an ecosystem is. If you find a thriving mayfly population, you're looking at clean water and a balanced environment. If they're missing, that's a red flag. In some regions, mayflies hatch in staggering numbers. In the American Midwest, for instance, the Mississippi River plays host to billions of mayflies during their synchronized hatching events. So many that the insects have shown up on weather radar, causing towns to declare cleanup emergencies as streets become coated in a thick layer of dead insects. In Eastern Europe, the Tisa River in Hungary is famous for its annual mayfly bloom, an event known as Tisa blooming, where the entire river seems to come alive with millions of dancing insects. Locals even gather to watch, treating the brief emergence as a natural celebration. A love story told in the sky, with a tragic ending every time. A historical perspective, humans and mayflies. Humans have long been fascinated by the mayfly, not just scientifically, but symbolically. In ancient Japanese poetry, mayflies were used to represent the fleeting nature of beauty and love. In Western art and literature, they're often metaphors for youth, fragility, or the cruel brevity of life. Even Aristotle wrote about mayflies, noting their short lives and the tragedy of their design. And in the 1600s, Dutch naturalist John Swammerdam described their emergence in such romantic terms. He might have been writing about a ghost. It liveth but 5 hours. It beareth witness to the greatness of nature, who can create such perfect things that vanish so soon. Quick mayfly facts, fast and fascinating. Let's pause for some rapid-fire mayfly trivia. There are over 3,000 documented species, but experts believe many more remain undiscovered. Some species have nymph stages that last up to 2 years. Mayflies are the only insects that molt after developing wings. Swarms can shut down traffic and crash power grids. Some indigenous cultures believe mayflies symbolize the souls of ancestors, a glimpse at evolution's strange priorities. So what can we learn from the mayfly? Nature doesn't value longevity for the sake of it. It values survival of the genes. And in that context, the mayfly is an evolutionary success story. It doesn't need decades to build a life. It just needs a single day to make sure life continues. From the outside, that seems cruel. But from nature's point of view, it's genius. The mayfly has persisted for over 300 million years. It has outlived mammoths, megalodons, and millions of extinct species. It has seen the rise and fall of dinosaurs, the birth of birds, the coming of humans, and through it all, the mayfly just kept hatching, mating, and dying. 2. The brutal life cycle. For most animals, life begins with birth, followed by growth, learning, exploration, and, eventually, reproduction. But for the mayfly, that cycle is completely unbalanced. Their lives are ruled by a single, unrelenting biological countdown. Because while the adult mayfly survives for only hours, the rest of its life, its real life, unfolds beneath the surface, hidden in the currents of freshwater streams and lakes. And it lasts far, far longer than most people would imagine. Stage 1. The egg. Life begins underwater. After the brief frenzy of mating in the air, a female mayfly dips toward the surface of the water. With gentle precision, she releases dozens to thousands of tiny eggs into the flow. Some scatter like dust. Others are placed deliberately onto submerged vegetation or rocks. And then, just like that, she dies, her final act complete. The eggs sink into the sediment, becoming tiny time bombs of future life. Depending on the species and the conditions, they might hatch within days, or remain dormant for several weeks. Stage 2. The nymph, the longest chapter. When the eggs hatch, they give rise to tiny aquatic nymphs, sometimes called naiads. These are not the helpless larvae you see in butterflies or flies. Mayfly nymphs are equipped from the start. Legs, jaws, gills, and a hunger to grow. They resemble miniature armored bugs with feathery external gills fluttering along their abdomen. With 6 legs, 3 tails, and a set of keen antennae, they are built to navigate the dynamic world of flowing water. This stage is where the mayfly spends the vast majority of its life, anywhere from several months to up to 2 years, depending on the species and environment. While adults die in a day, these nymphs endure entire seasonal cycles: floods, freezes, droughts, and the ever-present threat of predators. Survival strategies. Nymphs burrow into sediment, cling to rocks, and hide among aquatic plants. Some are scavengers, feeding on detritus and algae. Others are predators, ambushing smaller invertebrates. Their mouths are fully functional and adapted to their niche. And while they may be hidden, they are far from safe. Fish love to eat mayfly nymphs. So do amphibians, aquatic insects, and even birds that peck in shallow water. For every nymph that survives to adulthood, countless others are devoured long before they get the chance. Molting madness. Mayflies don't grow like humans. They must shed their exoskeletons in a process called molting. And they do it a lot. Some species molt more than 40 times as nymphs, each time leaving behind a ghostly shell. With each molt, they become larger, more agile, and closer to the final transformation. This is a process of intense vulnerability. During and after a molt, the nymph is soft, defenseless, and easy prey. Timing is everything. Final molt, the subimago stage. And then one day the transformation begins. The nymph crawls to the surface or onto a rock or stem above the waterline. There it performs an evolutionary magic trick unmatched by any other insect. It molts after developing wings. This stage is called the subimago, a winged but immature adult, often dull-colored with cloudy wings and a soft body. It can fly, but not very well. It can land, but not mate. This stage lasts a few hours to a day. It is the only instance in the entire insect world where a winged form molts again. No other insect does this. Second molt, imago emerges. The subimago rests, then molts one last time into the imago, the fully mature adult we associate with the term mayfly. Its wings become clear and glossy. Its body firms up, its reproductive organs are now developed, and the timer starts ticking in earnest. Now begins the most desperate part of the mayfly's existence. Stage 3, the swarm, a race against death. Adult mayflies do not eat. Most species have no functional mouths. Their digestive systems are essentially sealed off. Their bodies are fueled entirely by the nutrients stored during their nymph stage. As soon as they molt into adulthood, their mission is singular: find a mate and reproduce before the clock runs out. Males form massive swarms, dancing up and down in midair like a living curtain. Females enter the swarm and are quickly intercepted by males. Mating occurs in flight, a feat of incredible coordination for creatures that may have only minutes of flying experience. Some mayflies never get the chance. Wind, rain, or predators can snatch them away in seconds. Others may fail to find a mate at all. For the lucky ones, mating is brief but successful. Females immediately descend to the water to lay their eggs. Some skim the surface, others dive slightly beneath it. And then, like a candle burning out, they fall still. Predator post-mortem impact. When adult mayflies die, their bodies drift into the water or litter the shoreline. But they don't go to waste. Fish, birds, spiders, and scavengers feast on the fallen. In massive hatches, their carcasses form thick piles along riverbanks. For some towns, it's a nuisance. For ecosystems, it's a gift. The nutrients from mayfly corpses feed entire food webs. Their bodies fertilize soil, nourish aquatic life, and close the loop of their brief, brilliant existence. The cycle continues. From egg to nymph to adult and back again, the mayfly's life cycle is brutal, beautiful, and perfectly tuned to the rhythms of freshwater ecosystems. It is a life that asks for nothing more than a single successful handoff to the next generation. And somehow that's enough. The mayfly's life is short, painfully short, but what it lacks in time, it makes up for in purpose. Each fragile body is part of a legacy stretching back hundreds of millions of years. And as the adult falls, the eggs descend, and the river swells with new life, the cycle begins again, ancient, relentless, and unchanged. 3. The one-day frenzy. The sky begins to shimmer. One moment, the world is still. The next, it's alive with wings. As the sun dips below the horizon, the transformation begins. What seemed like an ordinary summer evening becomes something else entirely, something primal, ancient, and overwhelming. Mayflies are emerging. They rise in swarms so dense they look like smoke, so thick they appear on weather radar. In the span of mere minutes, millions of mayflies ascend from the river, the lake, the stream, and vanish into the sky. Their final day has begun. This is the mayfly's mating frenzy, the climax of everything their life has led up to. It is beautiful, it is chaotic, and it is merciless. What is a mayfly swarm? A mayfly swarm isn't just a gathering, it's a spectacle. Entire species emerge together in what's called a synchronized emergence. It's one of the most synchronized natural events outside of total solar eclipses in coral spawning. Biologists believe this strategy evolved to overwhelm predators. Birds, fish, and bats feast on the mayflies during these events, but there are simply too many to eat. It's a numbers game. Sacrifice the many so the few survive long enough to mate. The result? A breathtaking sky filled with delicate wings, dancing bodies, and the ever-ticking clock of death. Global hotspots for mayfly madness. Some of the most famous mayfly hatching events occur in the Mississippi River, USA, where clouds of mayflies become thick enough to coat bridges, roads, and entire towns. They pile inches deep on sidewalks, becoming a slippery hazard. The Danube and Tisa rivers, Europe, where species like Palingenia longicauda create a phenomenon known as Tisa blooming, drawing thousands of spectators. Lake Erie, North America, where synchronized hatches can cause power outages and even disrupt traffic as swarms block visibility. Locals sometimes call them river snow or shadflies, but whatever the nickname, their arrival is unforgettable. Synchronized emergence, evolution's survival hack. Mayflies time their emergence using environmental cues like water temperature, moon cycles, and daylight duration. When the signals align, they emerge en masse. It's the biological equivalent of a flash mob, where everyone dies at the end. Why all at once? Because death is guaranteed. Their only chance at immortality is reproduction. By swarming together, they increase the odds of finding a mate in the short window of time they have. Mid-air mating, the ultimate speed date. Once airborne, the clock is ticking. Males form massive swarms, vertical columns above rivers, roads, or fields. Females fly into these columns, and if they're lucky, a male will intercept them mid-flight. The pair mates in the air, usually within seconds. Afterward, the male often dies immediately, falling to the ground or water below. The female, now fertilized, glides back toward the water to lay her eggs. There's no ceremony, no pause, just instinct. Within minutes of mating, the female lays her eggs in the river that raised her, and she, too, dies. She will never see her offspring hatch. Never know whether her brief, blinding life meant anything at all. But evolution doesn't ask questions, it only rewards results. Eggs and the cycle continues. A single female mayfly can lay anywhere from 500 to over 4,000 eggs, depending on the species. These eggs sink gently to the riverbed, where they begin their own long journey. For them, the frenzy is over before they even begin. They will spend the next several months or even years underwater, molting, eating, growing, waiting. The cycle continues. The aftermath. A town covered in wings. When the swarms die, they die together. Streets are blanketed in wings. Sidewalks become slick with insect bodies. Some towns use snowplows to clear them away. The smell can be overwhelming, a mix of decay and fresh water. Local news headlines sometimes treat the event as an apocalypse. Insect storm hits town, or bridge covered in mayflies. But for biologists, it's a sign of ecological health. A river that produces a mayfly swarm is a river that's alive. To us, it may look like chaos, nuisance, even horror. But to the mayfly, it is a final ballet, a ritual as old as rivers, an ending written into their blood. One day, one purpose, one chance to rise, to fly, to fall, and to become part of something bigger than themselves. Their time is gone, their wings scattered, but beneath the surface, new life begins, silent, hidden, waiting for its turn. Because next year, on another summer night, the sky will shimmer once more. 4. Why evolution made it this way? By now you might be asking, why? Why would evolution sculpt a life that lasts barely a day? Why pour hundreds of millions of years of biological innovation into a creature that lives just long enough to die? It's tempting to think of the mayfly's life as a failure, as tragic, as incomplete, but that's only if we judge it by human standards. Evolution isn't about fairness, it's about efficiency. Evolution doesn't reward complexity. It doesn't favor long lives or happiness or intelligence. It rewards what works. And the mayfly works. Over millions of years, mayflies have found a formula that fits their niche perfectly. Grow underwater, where predators are limited. Delay adulthood until absolutely necessary. Emerge in massive, synchronized waves to flood the ecosystem. Mate quickly. Die. This sounds brutal, but it's incredibly effective. The power of specialization. Mayflies are specialists. They occupy a unique and fleeting window in the ecological calendar, emerging at just the right moment to take advantage of still water, calm weather, and low predation windows. They don't need to build hives, raise young, or compete for resources. Their nymphs feed and grow for months, sometimes years underground, safe and sustained. The adult phase is nothing more than a reproductive delivery system, a single-use rocket built to launch, spread life, and crash. Mayflies aren't designed to live long. They're designed to live precisely enough. The strategy of Big Bang reproduction. In evolutionary biology, mayflies are a textbook example of semelparity, a life strategy where an organism reproduces once in its lifetime, then dies. Salmon do it. Some octopuses do it. Even bamboo follows this pattern. It's called Big Bang reproduction. The idea is simple. Instead of investing energy into surviving multiple cycles, all resources are poured into a single reproductive event. It's risky, but in stable environments, it's astonishingly effective. Mayflies have optimized this to a level few other creatures can match. They're not living short lives by accident. They're doing it by design. Niches and ecological harmony. And in doing so, they feed the world. Mayfly nymphs are a critical food source for fish, frogs, and aquatic invertebrates. Adult mayflies feed birds, bats, and even mammals like raccoons. Their dead bodies enrich riverbanks and fertilize the ecosystem. They are born to die, yes, but in dying, they support life far beyond their own. Survival through simplicity. And here's the paradox. In their simplicity, mayflies have survived everything. Mass extinctions, climate shifts, ice ages, the rise and fall of empires. They outlived the trilobites. They watched pterosaurs soar and watched them vanish. While countless species chase complexity, developing parenting strategies, social hierarchies, or cognitive abilities, mayflies stayed the same, uncomplicated, consistent, reliable, because it worked, and it still does. Evolution didn't make the mayfly short-lived by mistake. It made it that way because it's the most efficient way to pass on its genes. It's not a flaw, it's a feature. What humans can learn from the mayfly. Maybe that's what makes the mayfly story so powerful. Because even though we have long lives and complex thoughts and endless options, there's something profound about a creature that exists so briefly, yet leaves such a lasting imprint. They remind us that purpose doesn't require longevity. Meaning can be found in even the briefest moments. Legacy is not measured in years, but in impact. In a world obsessed with time, The mayfly shows us how to make every second count. It's not about how long you live. It's about what you do with the time you're given. To us, a day is barely a blink, but to the mayfly, it is everything. A lifetime lived in fast forward, a finale written in advance, and somehow in that single day, it is enough. 5. Why it really sucks. We've seen how the mayfly is a masterpiece of evolution, a precision tool designed for speed, simplicity, and ecological impact. But that doesn't change one simple truth. From a human perspective, being born as a mayfly absolutely sucks. Reason 1. You don't eat, sleep, or even poop. Most creatures at least get the basics: food, rest, and relief. But not mayflies. Once they emerge from the water as adults, their mouths are non-functional. Their digestive system is shut down. Some species don't even have a mouth or stomach anymore. No food, no dinner date, no last meal, and they're not around long enough to sleep. The entire concept of rest is meaningless to a mayfly. If they stop, they die. Their wings deteriorate within hours. They fly until their muscles collapse. And pooping? Forget it. There's no waste, because there's no intake. Once they emerge, they're basically a flying reproductive time bomb. To reason 2, your body is literally falling apart. Think of your adult body as a car that was never meant to stop moving and begins breaking the moment it starts. Their wings degrade in hours, crumbling like tissue paper. Their exoskeletons harden too fast or too slow, causing deformities. Many don't survive molting into adulthood at all. Some species of mayflies even go through a rare intermediate stage called the subimago, a dull, immature version of the adult that molts one last time before full adulthood. But this final molt, it often fails. Wings stick, legs break, the mayfly dies before it ever gets to mate. Reason 3, you're born into a war zone. Remember those swarms? They might look magical from a distance, but for the mayfly, they are chaos. Birds swoop in, fish jump from below, bats slice through the air. Even humans drive through them, oblivious to the tiny lives smashed on windshields. In some towns, streetlights become death traps. Mayflies swarm to the light, pile up by the millions, and suffocate one another. Entire layers of insects die in mounds before ever finding a mate. It's like attending the world's largest dating event while being hunted and trampled. Reason 4, no memories, no learning, no second chances. Mayflies don't have time to learn. Their nervous systems are basic. Their brains are small and underpowered. There's no social bonding, no memory, no curiosity. A mayfly doesn't remember the riverbed, doesn't know its parents, doesn't recognize danger or safety. It doesn't even know it's alive in the way we do. There is no reflection, no regret, just motion. Reason 5, you never meet your offspring or parents. The entire family tree of a mayfly is shattered by time. You don't meet your parents, they're dead. You don't meet your children. They'll hatch months later underwater in silence. There is no passing down of knowledge, no nesting, no names, no generations standing together. Each mayfly stands alone at the very edge of its existence, trying desperately to pass the baton before it falls. So let's recap. You don't eat, you don't sleep, you can't poop, your body is disintegrating. Predators are everywhere. You can't learn, you can't love, and your only purpose? Mating once before you die. Yes, mayflies are evolutionary marvels. Yes, they keep ecosystems alive. Yes, they are beautifully adapted to their niche. But if you were reborn tomorrow as anything on this planet, you'd better pray it's not a mayfly. To us, it's a tragedy. To the mayfly, it's just life. Brutal, brief, and breathtaking. Why does it suck to be born a mayfly? Because in the blink of an eye, it's already over. So the next time you complain about Mondays, remember, some creatures don't even get a Tuesday. Mayflies, nature's shortest life story. Like this content? Subscribe for more tragic animal lives every week.